You are tuned in to that PRAYzy station, PRAYzy.FM, where we get our praise on. 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Welcome to the Momentum Shift, everybody. We are back here on this second Tuesday. I just skipped all the way to Wednesday, second Tuesday of May. I want to shout out all the mothers all over the world, whatever time zone you're in. I'm here in Arizona where it is 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I want to wish you a late and great, I'm going to take this. I want to welcome you guys to the Momentum Shift, where we are live here on Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. in the Valley of the Sun on that PRAYzy radio station where Dr. Lady Rain is making it rain in the Valley of the Sun. Join her at 6 a.m. in the mornings. Oh, y'all know I'm not awake. If y'all could see her, I'm telling you, she thinks she gonna get caught one of these days, and her behind the scenes is gonna become on the front of that camera. I'm gonna trick her, y'all, and she ain't gonna even know how the Lord gonna work it out. I don't know how he gonna work it out. Y'all know that, work it out. Yeah, y'all be thinking about working it out. He gonna work this out, because I want you guys to see what goes along with the production process of these shows. I want to give her credit where credit, I would just believe in giving people their flowers while they're alive. We say a whole lot after they dead and gone, but I want to say it now. She makes it rain. She does it. She make it do what it do. This is not her full-time gig, so it takes a lot of commitment to be able to bring you guys all these powerful shows that we have going on here at PRAYzy.FM Radio and Uni TV. So with that being said, if you know that you're the hostess from the mostest and you think you could be on this side of the camera, I suggest you reach out. You can inbox us, you inbox me, however you want to do it, and I will set you up with the woman who can make it happen. She produces all of the shows, all the live shows, and even when it's not live, she produces these shows. So I want you guys to not miss out on what God could do in your life or through you here at PRAYzy.FM Radio. We God is just doing some powerful things. He is making it happen in so many people's lives. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. I know it seems like we talk about mental health every week. You know why? Because we're dealing with mental health every week, every day, every second, every moment, whether directly or indirectly. You may not. Oh, they shouting you out on here, Dr. Rain. They coming for you. They coming for you here in the comments. Oh, and Sonia is singing. Oh my gosh. Singing, how you gonna pay your bills? Oh, your money. She didn't put the whole words from the Work It Out song. Okay, you know what? I didn't remember the words. I just remembered the Work It Out part, because for whatever reason, that seems to be the part they say over and over again. So that's the part that kind of stuck with me. We love you, Kimmy. You know what? Kim, y'all, if y'all didn't see her show on Saturday, I'm telling you, you want to go back to Saturday show with Under the Scope. Kim and her daughter, man, her daughter is bomb. The bomb. In fact, she probably do her own show. She really does, because this girl is doing so much in the world of STEM education. Y'all don't tell me that people of color don't know what they got. They don't know anything. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter how many obstacles or accomplishments. We all have a place here in the kingdom. So I'm shouting out everybody. Choice, our station chaplain. I don't know if she's on tonight, but man, Choice is everywhere. I don't know how she does it, to be honest. Choice is everywhere. It don't matter what time zone you in. It doesn't matter what time of the day the show airs. Somehow Choice is in the comments. She is. Oh yeah, and so you want to check out that show from Saturday. It was fire. Shawanda, oh, your sister in love is on here, Artis. Shawanda.
Yeah, I see him.
Is watching. That is Artis. I'm gonna let him tell y'all about his folks. I told y'all before when Artis was on. Artis and I we go way back. We go back in the day, back from my season, actually, it was probably one of the first couple friends that we had when we moved to Valdosta, Georgia. I met his wife at Walmart back when we were all in college. Actually, I had dropped out. I was a dropout at that point, hence why I was working at Walmart. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with working at Walmart. If you do you, if you good with it, it's cool. I just knew that wasn't for me. It was in that season of my life where I was in between seasons, you know how we do. And hey, Walmart has people going to college and raise their kids and sent them to college, then pay for homes. They do everything. We shop there, and that's, hey, that's supporting our community. There, everybody has jobs, so there's no little or big or whatever. It just wasn't for me. Walmart was my motivation. 2 jobs I had in Valdosta. One of them was at that factory. I can't even remember the name. Electech is what I think it was. Or did you know that
I have no clue.
It was from a long time ago. It might not even be there anymore. But they had a contract. It was a guy, I think it was the guy who owned it, was a retired military guy, had a contract where he would make certain electronic components. I forget to what. But I worked there for a few days. And when they was ringing a bell to tell you when you could go to the bathroom, see, I didn't know. I didn't know you couldn't just get up and go to the bathroom. It didn't work like that. That was my first motivation, that I needed to go back to school. And then the second one was when I worked at Walmart. Yeah. Now, Kalisa had worked there like 10 years. Kalisa she may as well have been the store manager. Kalisa.
She started there when she was 16 in high school.
She did. And then, she used it as her stepping stone. And it's like I said, some people retire. You do what you do. But I have to give it to all the mothers who show up, the people who serve us. We found out during COVID who the essential workers were, right? It was the people that was serving us our food. It was the people who was doing public safety. It was the people who was driving them city buses. It was them Uber drivers and them Lyft drivers. It was also, the police, firemen, anybody in public safety. Yeah, you know what? Our perspective started to change about who we thought was important and who we didn't. It was them hospital workers, them caregivers, whatever it is we needed to provide a service for us. So if nothing else, that is one thing that we learned, was to value the role that everyone plays in our communities. So I want to give a shout out to all the mothers who gave birth through the birth canal, and those who birthed and parented other people's children. Yeah, that. I give them a special shout out because y'all all right with me. Y'all all right with me. And so I've given my Mother's Day shout outs. We got the fathers. Lord, now here we go. They going from song to song in the comments. They bringing them all back right now. So we done worked it out. Now we bowed it. She turned it over to Jesus and she stopped. And then now she bowed it. She didn't, y'all put in them songs. He done worked it out. Y'all going, you know what? I'm gonna leave y'all where y'all at. I'm not gonna even go there. Only people we missing now is on the couch with Nick and Shalonda, because Nick he know. And Nick Allen, if you on here, if you even listen to anybody, y'all text Shalonda or Nick and tell Nick I'm talking about him on the Momentum Shift, because he know how I feel about that shiny suit music, is what I call it. Nick will probably talk about me on their show this Thursday because I said that. That's them quartet singers, for those who don't know what the shiny suits is about. Because they will work it out for a whole hour. I have just never seen how you can sing one song for an hour. They done sweated out their hair, their clothes, their shoes. They done danced out the shoes. People done shouted, ran around the church, and then worked it out. So we gonna work it out tonight. Speaking of which, I've got the ultimate work it out person on the line outside of Artis. Been working it out for years. I thought about him yesterday. Like I said, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So I thought, we talk about trauma a lot, and trauma, there are some working definitions of what trauma is. Oh Lord, they didn't tag Shalonda in the comments. I'm gonna be in trouble. Yes, them shiny suits, Kim, them shiny suits. And they back then, see, this is all the young people might not know nothing about no shiny suits, but all of us in this age category, we know about them shiny suits. Them quartet singers, I don't know where they found them clothes, but they all would have them suits was shiny. And them shoes, it didn't matter what color was the suit, them shoes was matching. They had the whole outfit. It was the religious version of, yes, them alligator shoes. It was the religious groups version of them Temptations or them Spinner Men and all of them. So I'm gonna leave them alone. Y'all already know. So anyway, I got Artis, the retired warden on here. And I thought about, I wanted to pick up a discussion that we started actually a couple months ago when I had him on, and he was talking about, he gave his introduction about how he ended up working in the prison population. When I met him, I'm gonna say Bud's. I don't remember if it was Bud's warehouse or not, but it was one of those kind of places, Bud's. And yeah, you could tag Ronnie, y'all, Ronnie gonna come on back. Her and her food, I'm missing her food. Her food talk. She been quiet. She don't post about food as much like she had been. But Artis was talking about how he got into the prison population as an employee, not as an inmate. Artis used to talk about the inmate. Yeah, I want to make sure we're gonna make this clear. He was not incarcerated. It might have felt like he was incarcerated because as much time as you spending behind them locked doors with the inmates, but Artis used to always talk about the inmates. And so actually for a minute, I have a lot of interest in the prison population. Is one of the best jobs and most rewarding professions I ever had was doing treatment in the prison, actually. So awesome group of people. A lot of the stereotypes that we have, we've watched too much TV and we watch too much news because the way things are portrayed about people that are incarcerated. I learned while I was there that there are people just like the rest of us who has families, who some of them, everybody is not from impoverished backgrounds. There's people who have professional jobs that get incarcerated for the same things that people, and I'm not talking about white collar crimes either. They get incarcerated for drugs just like lower socioeconomic people of all color backgrounds, everything. They're all in the same place. So no, there's no special place for the educated or the degree people when you're there for the same reasons. You are where you are. So having said that, I want to introduce to some and present to Artis Singleton to the audience as he shares his expertise about trauma and the pipeline to a prison. So Artis, tell us a little bit, welcome the people, and tell them why I chose you to talk about this topic.
Probably called you a little crazy. So.
It might be,
but no.
That might be.
I learned a lot in corrections within itself. A lot of people before they even come into the jails or the prisons have already experienced some type of trauma, what probably led them there. The biggest thing is, the reason you say there's so many different socioeconomic groups that are incarcerated, it's not about where you come from, who you are, who your parents are. It's about the choices you make in life during difficult times. And sometimes that trauma causes us to make choices that are not protecting the things we value most in life, pretty much. And that's the biggest part of coming in correction. And like you said, that stereotype, when I walked in correction, I was like, oh my God. My first week back from training, I worked in a mental health level 3 building in a closed security prison, and I was like, what in the world am I doing here? And I wasn't just looking for a job, I was looking for a career, just straight out of the military.
Mhm.
Was given the opportunity to work in corrections, and wanted to make the best of it. So I was terrified, and terrified based off the stereotype.
Yeah.
But had an older guys like, we got y'all, and I'm looking at him trying to hold on to my pride, like, and I don't know. He said the strangest thing to me that I didn't expect to come from an inmate's mouth. He said, trust why God put you here, and roll with it. And I looked around, everybody was going about their business. A little loud and chaotic at times, but people were going about their business. So I sat and I watched, did my duties, paid attention, and I was like, wow, this could have been me. But when I was shot in my eye, I was going back to get that dude that shot me. But I think the biggest part is learning people. Understand that we all come from different backgrounds, but our decision making is important, and our choices are important. And the choices that we make every day should protect the things we value. And the trauma that you see coming in, you see a 17, 18-year-old coming in. Technically, you're really seeing a 15-year-old come in because they've been in juvie, from an early age, and they just kind of grew out of the juvie system, and they're still exhibiting that behavior. Some of it is behavior that's tapped into mental health. Some of it is behavior just to manipulate. But you do see it. And over a period of time, that trauma comes into a correctional facility, and it gets worse. And isolation is not the answer, because the worst thing you can do to individuals is isolate, and not have anybody to talk to. The biggest piece is, and what a lot of people don't understand, is the trauma that correctional staff, experience. And there's not a lot of studies on post-traumatic stress for the staff. But can you? I think Washington State did a study a while back, maybe a couple of years back. It suggested that the correctional staff experience post-traumatic stress similar to Iraq and Afghanistan veterans at about 19% or so. But there's not a big study on that can be conclusive on how bad that is. So the trauma is on both sides. What I learned is if you train your staff to know who they are, understand be aware of their emotions and their decisions and the problems that they're bringing into the facility with them, and to get them to be able to control that while they're inside the facility. When they come into conflict, they can better understand the offender's behavior. Place that's probably one of the most untrustworthy places in the world, because you're with people that from all over, that's proven that they will hurt you, and a lot of that hurt comes from being hurt.
Yeah.
So that trauma is on both sides, and we take it out to our families if we're not careful and don't get the mental help that we need. A lot of offenders, like I said, coming in with trauma and leaving with more trauma, because correction is not equipped to handle the mental health needs of those. But you have dual diagnosis. You have, substance abuse issues and then the mental health issues, and you can't tap into both of them at the same time. Or, one's overriding the other. It takes professionals like yourself to kind of dig into that and help that person find themselves. And
Yeah. One thing I did hear is, of course, because we talked about wonderful, needed information. Of course, internet starts acting up. But I did hear one thing I heard you say that I thought was powerful is the piece about training your staff, because training, I think, is imperative. And you're right, all the stereotypes. I remember the first day I stepped out at the prison, because I interviewed for the position that I worked for a contract agency who had been awarded the state contract to provide a women's recovery system program out at Perryville Prison Complex. And I caught it on the last 6 months because due to finances and whatnot with the state budgeting, of course, they cut funding for that program. And so what it was it's a women's recovery model where it was a yard that was the drug yard. At that time, it was Santa Cruz. I don't know what it is now because that was 21 years ago. But on that yard, everyone who came to that yard, and they had ladies who had been in and out of the system numerous times. But I met some really neat people. I met professional people who worked for the state, had been in supervisory roles and different things. And what you said was when the trauma is not resolved, you can find yourself in situations that you never thought you would be in, because it becomes a lot of the behavior that we see is a result of maladaptive coping mechanisms, and we all have them.
Yes.
The difference between me and the person incarcerated may be that maybe I might have a little bit more skill in one area, or I just didn't get caught.
Or maybe you just make choices that affect the thing that you value.
Could be that too. It could be that too. Or maybe I just didn't get caught.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing, because a lot of what I learned during that experience is a lot of the women I spoke to talked about how a good bit of their charges, and it does speak to choices. It does. So I'm not negating that by any stretch of the imagination. Am I giving a person a pass for? But I also understand how people find themselves in the options and with the cards that they're dealt. What I learned from quite a few of them was they weren't incarcerated for things that they directly did. It may have been either because they was living in a home with someone that had illegal behavior going on. It could be a child's father. It could be anything. Really, a lot of them had had their kids pulled by the state because of some of these relationships. And it's easy for people such as ourselves to sit back and judge and say, well, why don't they just leave? Even when you're dealing with people with domestic violence issues who may not have any drug involvement at all, society looks at it and say, well, why don't they just leave? Well, until you work in that environment and understand the cycle, you don't understand why they don't just leave. It's not as easy as it sounds. So the trauma piece, I think is pretty clear that there's a direct correlation between the two. Not saying that everyone who's experienced trauma will end up incarcerated, because like you said, choices play a huge role in these types of things. That is very true. I also understand though that when you're in a life infested with things and you don't know how to get out of it or break that cycle, if all you spend your time with is people who don't know any more than you and can't offer you any options, because like before we got on, we were talking about the system, and not just the prison system itself, but even the mental health system and our child welfare system. You said something that I think was very powerful. I don't know if you remember what you said, but you said something about how the system is designed, the design of the
system is designed to protect itself, from ridicule, from whatever. I mean, if you think about it, your average worker, they know what they know at their level. As you grow and you promote up or whatever, you see different things, and you see people making decisions that don't necessarily protect the people that's under them. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to make sure and realize that our staff, especially in the correctional environment, have family outside. When I say, well, you need to come to work because I'm short, or you need to be here, that negates that they have a serious issue out there. Not that they are planning on it. You have people do manipulate it, but you can't make your decision on it. Mm-hmm. We can't get so involved that we forget about the people that are actually out there doing work. Like you said, we found out who the real people who we needed, when this pandemic went down. Everybody else was locked in their house. You had to your service workers out there working and out there, they was like soldiers in a war zone, pretty much. You know,
Exactly.
and we can't, thank them enough for that service. Especially our law enforcement and our caregivers. They do it every day. It's a nonstop mission for them. But it's about understanding the importance of our choices, and sometimes trauma makes our choices, kind of limited, because that's all I know. I met a kid and sitting down talking to him, and he was like, Miss Single, that's all I know. And since I was 5 years old, I was being put up in windows to unlock doors for houses, wow. So that people can burglarize houses. So it's a matter of understanding that we all didn't grow up in the same environment, and that what's criminal in this environment, what's criminal in the normal environment may seem normal in my community. Fighting to solve conflict or whatever it may be. In that community, it's normal. But outside of it, it becomes criminal. You see a lot of that behavior coming into the system, from it's just like the stigmatizing of mental health, and why people don't report rape, don't report that they're having mental health problems, don't report domestic, because they get victimized over and over and over again by the system itself. So we kind of negate or diminish the what we're saying. Report it so we can help you. But if we report it, then I become a victim all over again. So we have to reach out and find that equal understanding, to where the people that need the help understand why, and we understand why and what type of help to give them.
So, and I think that's a good point for us to stop and break. We have to stop for a commercial break right now, but I think when we come back, that might be a good place to pick up, because you said something that I think is very powerful. And in particular, I mean, I know it happens with men as well. I know for a fact women find themselves in this situation a lot. And in particular, women who have children, having to decide, if I report this, how does this impact that?
Yeah.
And that's a huge challenge. So when we come back, you guys hang on. We've got 30 more minutes to go. I know it's late on the East Coast. I welcome in our East Coast family. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. I know it's late, but I'll be back right after the break with Artis Singleton, the retired DOC, Georgia Department of Corrections warden, who has an author, yes, multiple author. I never would have thought we'd be having that conversation.
Me either.
But you never. But that just shows that growth. We all grow and develop, and not realizing that we may end up having more in common with someone on the back end than we originally thought. So you guys don't go away. Hang tight. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Have you ever wanted to host your own inspirational radio show? Have you been called to inspire and spread God's word? Please contact Alicia Rain for more info.
Are you the next great independent artist, but you're looking for a distribution opportunity? Well, sign with us at PRAYzy.FM Music Distribution. Yes, the 2021 Stellar Award nominated PRAYzy.FM can handle it all. We understand the narrow road leading to getting your music heard at the right time at the right place can be tough. So send your music and video files to fmprayz@gmail.com. That's fmprayz@gmail.com. PRAYzy.FM Music Distribution, affiliated with Sony Music and the Orchard Distributors.
PRAYzy family, meet service disabled Navy veteran Howard Martell. He's a Christian, family man, and business owner of Howard Superstore. Howard, tell us more about the store.
Some of our top sellers include Gen Mink. It's 100% pure mink oil and provides exactly what your skin needs. Gen Java Gourmet Arabica CBD coffee with an unbelievably good taste. Jenny's Roll-On Pain Relief. Gen Health, which supports a healthy immune system. Ultimate Keto Ultimate Body Formula. Gen Pet Max Total Pet Health for cats and dogs. And Gen Ties Clean Hands. We're also super enthused to bring Gen Energy to the consumers. This is a power factor correction unit installed in your home or business, and it absolutely helps reduce high energy bills from power companies.
Learn more about these amazing products. Visit howardsuperstore.com. That's howardsuperstore.com.
Shop Soulful Touch Roses for your personally designed rose at soulfulgifts.etsy.com.
Attention! Music Fest has opened its doors of opportunity for a short period of time to musical talents to perform. For more information about participating in the Music Fest shows, please contact Let's Connect at A2ZChristlife.com or www.PRAYzy.fm.
Unique Sounds Music Group presents a music fest on Carnival Freedom, January 26th through the 30th, 2023. Sailing from Orlando, Florida to Nassau and Princess Cay, Bahamas. Reserve your spot today with just $25 by contacting booking at uniquesounds.com. Welcome back to the Momentum Shift, guys. I'm glad you guys stayed. You don't want to miss this one. I know y'all heard those wonderful church announcements, right? Are y'all going to govern yourselves accordingly? Yeah, you know, them church announcements. That's how I actually got I guess you could say that's how I got my radio. My first voiceover started with me doing the church announcements. And not here at, not being the voice. They used to call me the voice at my old church here because I used to do the voiceovers for the announcements and all of that. But even before that, as long as I can remember, that's just how it started. I had forgotten about that, but probably since I was probably 10 years old, my first public speaking was reading the church announcements. Go figure that. So govern yourselves accordingly. Narrow Way is awesome. I'm gonna tell you, them Fisher girls got it going on. They doing it big and doing it great. Those are Dr. Lady Rain's spiritual daughters. If y'all could just see her grinning right now, y'all would just, this is a big old cheese grits grin. Like, you know, when you eat some real good cheap, don't y'all come for me. I'm telling you now, don't come for me. It's just something about some good old cheese grits with salt and pepper, not no sugar. No. Salt and pepper. Cheese grits are delicious. Yes, and oh, hey, Ronnie. Ronnie's in the house. Yeah, that cruise, make sure you guys get your deposits done. That's going to be powerful. I'll be doing mine in the next couple days. This cruise to the Bahamas. Artists, you and Felicia should come with. Out of Florida, y'all should come with us. Y'all right out of Florida, so y'all should come with. I'll make sure you have the information, so you guys can come and party with us. It's a music fest. There's gonna be all kinds of music though. It's not gonna be just that shake your booty stuff. And for the people who want to shake their booty for Jesus, I'm gonna let you shake your booty for Jesus. I have no comment. So on that, I'm done with me. And back to the real talk of why we're here. We're talking about trauma and the pipeline to prison. And through the break, Artis and I was sharing, for anyone who might have just come on, Artis is a retired prison warden through the Department of Corrections in the state of Georgia. He is also an author. of 2 books, poems, right? Poems.
Yeah.
Which I know that's God, because anytime my artist was always funny though. Side note, y'all know the Bernie Mac show. Y'all know Bernie Mac. I'm telling y'all, don't believe this artist you see right here, because that's artist. Bernie Mac is artist. If y'all don't know, ask his wife Kalisa. I'm telling you, artist, that's Bernie Mac. If Anthony wasn't on the road right now, he driving right now, so that's why he can't be on here to support his longtime friend. We don't want him to lose his CDL, so he can't be on Facebook and driving at the same time, because he will, can't do that. But he'll tell you, every time we watch Bernie Mac, I'm like, that's artist.
Hey, see, what you got to understand, Doc.
Meet the Pains. Even me on Meet the Pains, Curtis is artist. That's artist too. Them too. Tyler Perry stole your life and your personality, because that's you. Curtis in particular is artist.
See, that's how I dealt with my mental health, because I was serious most of the time in the prison. Most of my staff was laughed at because they laughed at me because they was like, can't believe you said that, or or whatever.
That's because they didn't know artists.
but I played a lot around family and friends and joked around a lot, because it did help relieve a death I may have seen that day. A lot of people don't realize correctional staff, probably half of them not seen a suicide. I know probably 90% done witness an inmate get hurt, stabbed, or beaten, or a fellow officer or staff member get hurt. So that can be detrimental to the mental state of walking back in and hearing that door click behind you, and knowing you can't just leave when you want to leave.
That's the part other people don't know either. I'm glad you said that piece about that door, that Sally Point.
Yeah.
First time you walk in that Sally Point port, that's when you realize, oh,
yeah,
I'm in here just like they are at this point.
That's right. And if something happens, you don't go nowhere until it's cleared up.
You sure don't.
So to understand, when correctional officers are running towards the danger and everybody else running away from it, just like the street, you're in your own city, and you do community policing pretty much, and you're handling violent inmates that's proven that they'll hurt someone, and they're doing the time for it. Well, on the street, you don't really know,
But
so,
in there, what they got.
So yeah, that adds to the trauma of your psyche, being like totally or completely which word I'm looking for? Tormented, throughout, especially when you got that joker screaming at the top of his lungs, from a distance, scared themselves, but screaming, trying to make you feel like you should be scared of them. But what I found that you got a handful of guys that cause trouble. Yeah. Deal with that handful. The rest of the guys just want to go home to their family. And stuff,
especially in prison.
Yes.
Now, jail might be a little different. Jail is a whole different environment. That's another
jail.
Show.
They haven't been jail a lot of times. They haven't been convicted, and they feel like they're going to beat the system, or they're going to get out, not realizing the seriousness of their problem. But they do catch it as well. The biggest thing is getting the understanding between staff and defenders. And part of my evidence-based prison that I started, I was blessed enough to where the commissioner chose me to start the first evidence-based prison over at Lee State Prison. And man, how the staff responded to the training, and then how the staff was able to implement the training, and the offenders responded to the training was amazing. We had little to no problems. I started calling it the Glass Palace, because the offenders that wanted to do right, they was like, look, Miss Singleton, this is what's going on. And I ain't snitching. I'm just telling, I'm trying to get home to my family. Y'all willing to work with us and guide us to where we need to be to live outside of this prison. We're going to do what we can do to help make sure that, we get to go home, and everybody's safe. So, and I can see that transitioning out into, the community with a lot of programs that, a guy named Anthony Blackburn out of Texas created a program called Policing with Insight that we're working to trying to get. He's working. He found me on LinkedIn, and
Wow.
I looked at his program. It was amazing, and I think if law enforcement take a look at it, that it'll help that individual law enforcement come into contact with himself, being aware of his emotional needs. I may have had a fight with my family member.
Yeah.
Got a problem with my kid. Now I got to deal with this conflict. So do I escalate it or de-escalate? And that's the type of thing we have to be looking at when we're training our staff.
So part of that training and in having insight in your own current presentation, I think is huge. Like you were talking about emotional intelligence, being aware of where you are in your own experiences and your own core values. Like during the break, we were talking about why people don't leave, why people make the decisions they make, and our own perspectives about that. And you said some things that I think was very powerful that I think would be insightful for our audience. You talked about an experience about, you started before the break talking about how someone's decisions, everybody has varied experiences, right? And how the system, we were talking about the system, how the system is designed to protect the system and not necessarily provide the outcome that we say on paper. Is not exactly the way it works. And it's not that it's intentional necessarily.
It's not intentional.
It's not protecting even our staff, even the people who are in a part of this helping community and making sure that everyone is healthy and maintains a level of homeostasis, is we call it.
We are the system, though, Andrew. We are the system.
We are it.
So it's designed to protect the whole, not the people working in specific environments. So that's the whole practice. But as you were saying, with you was talking about the family violence and how why people stay, and we judge people on I get out of that situation, but we don't know what we do unless we are put in a situation. I used to teach a family violence class that talked about, we discussed, with child and family guidance when I used to teach family violence. Women stay because of financial need. They're not primarily the breadwinner. They don't want to take the children away from the father. They feel like they can hold on to that individual change, or they just love them. But the biggest thing is, how am I going to take care of my child? And the services come in and take my child away from them. So those are big issues that influence people's choices to stay or leave. And with most domestic violence issues, once that person decides to leave, the individual has been abused become dangerous. So that's a fear factor as well to it. That's when you see a lot of murder suicides or stuff like that happen. A lot of domestic violence stems around mental health issues and trauma and how we are raised. And like you were saying, the 5-year-old that's put in the window to open up, to them, that's normal.
Yeah.
I got somebody paying, going to pay me to steal their car so they can get insurance money. So that's to them, that's normal. So now I had a guy tell me, said, I didn't hurt him. I just took his stuff. He got insurance for it. Yeah, somebody paid me to do the same thing. I'm like, wow. This is the
perspective.
This is what we're dealing with, and how do we change it? And it's providing tools that change that cognitive concept. I think the biggest help for corrections, for me, was seeing Kairos come in, which is a religious organization that come in and do prison ministry, and seeing guys that I know that busting heads just 6-7 months ago, just totally come out of Kairos, and they didn't go up there to have a religious experience. They went up to eat some fried chicken.
It's called programming, the motivation wise, because they don't want to be locked down. They're programming so that they're not stuck in their cell all day.
So when they came out of that experience, they like people out there that really do care about you. You know, I said people care about you in general, just walking behind these doors to let it shut behind you. You got to care about yourself. It doesn't matter how someone else feels about you if you don't love yourself. You know, and being able to speak that into them, at least they prison child. I had what they call them, blow up bouncy houses
at the prison.
Yeah, listen, we had a family. We had a family day, and trust me, I never thought that would be happening coming in Artis Singleton prison.
Well, I coming out of Artis Singleton's mouth. Y'all have to know the artist I know. He would have never done that.
Listen, I seen that facility flip and the offenders start taking charge of their lives and stuff. And I first noticed when two guys got into a fight, because Lee State Prison is a 6-man cell with one toilet and some of the dormers. You know, no AC. So guys got to fighting over something petty. And they both took ownership of their responsibility and they came up with ways that, you know, if we had a thought about it, we could have blah, blah, blah. And both of them took ownership. And I was like, wow, and we was like probably 5 months into the program. I was like, wow. You know? And talking to them, so I said, but you're still going to have me say, you're going to have to spend some time. You're still going to DR. You know, that's consequences of life. Mm-hmm. You know, but seeing that and then seeing the guys, you know, go into carpentry, start the carpentry program, the automotive program, the welding program, and start doing amazing stuff with that. And so we had a family, you know, and it was supported by the upper echelon, the commissioner's office. It was their idea, you know, and it just pushed it into me, you know, because I was like, you know, oh, man, are you crazy? You know, but they put it on paper and say I can do it. I'm willing to give it a try, and just giving it a try and having the support. Man, it was amazing to see bouncy houses, ice cream, like the little.
What level facility is this? What level yard is this?
Medium security.
Medium.
It's a medium security prison. But Telfair State Prison has the evidence-based program. I think Hancock. One Toby over there started one at a closed security prison. You know, with closed security prison, you're gonna have your major issue because you got your life without parole and stuff like that. But she does an outstanding job in what she do. Jermaine White worked at Lee with me. You know, he was my deputy at Lee. He's at Telfair. You know, and you know, he runs it with respect. If I got to deal with you, I'm gonna deal with you. Deal with your fast, and I'm done with it. And he respect the population, and we came up with some incentive programs and stuff like that for those offenders that's making it. Because people like to feel wanted, needed.
Exactly. And
if you give them an opportunity to do something, and then reward them for it, you see major difference, major change in people's lives because they feel like you care. You know, they start to understand their situation, how to better apply themselves and start communicating more with their families. They start talking about their trauma. They start talking about the issues that brought them there, the issues that they've had throughout and stuff, and having to be able to trust the staff member, especially somebody like the warden, you know, to be able to listen to you, you know, and hear you, you know. Department of Correction have where the warden and the echelon staff, you know, have meetings monthly, sometimes twice a month meeting with representatives from the dorms that the inmate people. They come up and they discuss the issues maybe going on, and we address them. If it's bull crap, and I tell them it's bull crap. You know, that's self-serving. It doesn't support the camp and doesn't support your dorm. You know, what you're talking about is self-serving, but that's not what this meeting is about. You know what's going on. And then, you know, and I think we should, you know, implement and have the same thing with staff. You know, tell us what's going on. I had my staff coming out. My door was wide open. I get there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to catch the shift coming off. Then my door open. They come in. And my admin assistant said, they're going to kill you. I said, no. Because if it's bull, I don't mind telling them it's bull. But if they can sit down and talk to me and tell me about what's going on with their family and I can help them, I'm going to give them my best. If I have to come out of my own pocket with whatever it may be, to help them for that moment. Child, I sometimes had 7 or 8 officers working 1,800 man.
Working what?
7 or 8 officers.
Uh-huh.
And 6 of those were female, single mothers, got staff being late, and they're trying to get home because they have to get their kids because their parents or whoever got married had to go. So you have to.
There's lots of adjusting and dynamics.
Yes, and then realizing that they have a home. They have a home. I put a deputy on the post. Hell, I go out there and work it so they can get where they need to get to handle their business. Because those are the one that came back the next day and was appreciative that you considered their family and their needs. Because they're worried about. Hey, defense gonna take my kids. My parents gonna lose a job. Blah blah blah. Now you putting other worries on because we have someone that didn't show up. And it's teaching your staff to be responsible for each other. Not just a job and collect a check, but be responsible for each other and be responsible for the people that we are responsible for. They're not our friends, they're not our enemies. They are responsibility. So it's understanding. So trauma is all over the place in corrections, and our leadership needs to understand that and maybe look at providing provisions to help, Because I don't care what you say, ain't nobody, the line staff, they're not going to trust the upper leadership until we can prove to be trusted. If I tell you this, then it's going to be all over the camp. If I tell you this, then, it's going to be here. I'm going to lose my job or whatever. Law enforcement is experienced all the time. If I let them know I got this going on, they're going to take my gun, take my badge. They're going to do this, With studies said why they didn't say nothing? Because we don't know how to keep our mouth shut, to handle it because we don't understand. Mm-hmm. We need to get educated from you guys on how to deal with it and, have that anonymity for that staff member that's working, and then let them know, hey, you may not need to have this with you. You may not need to have access, to a weapon. Let's figure out how we can safely, remove that from you while you go through this, and, get with you so that your leadership understand and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on, and have them in there with you. And now that we just, he or she is willing to work through this, because we maybe, assign them to this duty, that duty, special assignment, come up with a special assignment so we can work through it. Until then, your line staff is not going to trust the leadership to tell them that they're having mental issues, or that they're mentally becoming unstable, stress at home with kids, or just with the job and coworkers,
living their lives and dealing with the impacts of everybody, everything. And I think you and we'll continue this discussion because there's just so many levels. In particular, there's lots in the media about recidivism and policing in America, all the stuff, people who probably never paid any attention to it. People became experts, through all of the experiences and the losses that has happened with policing, issues of policing in America. I appreciate you coming on and sharing even the part about trauma, because we're people, we all have levels of trauma we experience, and those core beliefs and values and about certain things, and bringing that into an environment, not knowing how we are impacting positively or negatively. And in a prison population in particular, you have even more safety concerns than you probably do out in the regular community, and bringing in all those factors. At some point, I would like to maybe do some type of symposium where we talk about corrections. And that female warden, you need to hook us up, because most of the time when we think of females in the prison system, you may see someone on TV that's working or whatever, but they do move up the ranks, and it's not necessarily in a female facility where you may have a female warden. And so there's so many things, so many dynamics that we could talk about in regards to this. And in particular, you've talked a lot about staff and their emotional health, and how the considerations you've made for that in your decision making and all of that. So sometime in the future, we'll figure out a time where we can do a special show where it's not so late at night, maybe on a Saturday or something, where we could have these discussions, because America needs to know, because there's a lot of ignorance with populations that we may not, we only know about because we've seen on TV, either in movies or what we've heard or news or whatever, not really realizing that these decisions impact everyone's daily life, whether you're inside or out. And I don't think we think about it that way from that perspective, because that child you may be serving, if you teach school, that child may be directly impacted by someone that's incarcerated, how they got there, and all the dynamics associated with that. So there's so many things, so many different, literally we could do a whole research project just on what we've talked about tonight. So
back to the power of the tongue.
That's what it's about. And our perspective is meaningless if we're not impacting someone in a positive way. So Artis, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Artis is on Amazon. You guys check him out. His name is Artis Singleton. He has written a book of poems, like, go figure. It's like it's Artis Singleton and Curtis from I just can't. It's just I have to know. I'm sorry. I've known artists, but I knew artists before Christ. The DC artists and the AD artists. So it's just good to see the work that you're doing in the community and seeing.
I haven't started in the community yet.
Well, you've been working in the community, whether you think you've been working in the community or not.
But I really want to do this.
Yes.
I haven't started yet.
Well, I'm excited to see the things that you used to talk about years ago when you were talking about what you wanted to do when you were getting that criminal justice degree, when we were in college together, and to see where that took you and what God has done and the impact you've made is phenomenal.
Amazing.
Phenomenal. And so I'm excited to partner with you in this journey to see what we're doing, what God's going to do next. Because I have a feeling he's about to do something real great and powerful that we never would have known. So on that note, thank you, Artis, for coming on. Thank you to East Coast crew. Pastor Deborah popped on all the way in the East Coast crew. Dr. Lady Rain, I'm gonna make it.
Thank you, Dr.
Your son visiting from a whole nother country, so she been grinning. Ain't nobody heard from her in days. That's probably why.
I'm already done gave y'all information to someone that asked me about doing a radio show and stuff like that.
See, you just never know what God got in the work.
They just came and asked that they want to change their life. They want to change their career style. They want to go on the radio. See, and I said, well, have you ever heard of PRAYzy Radio? I gave them the information and stuff like that. So.
See, you just never know what God will do. He'll pick something and he'll hook you up because of somebody else knows somewhere else.
Yeah. So, the person just came out and blew an ass. Was talking about changing, what they do. She wanted to go into talk show, Thomas, and I brought you up and PRAYzy Radio. Showed her the information on Facebook. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for watching.
And thank you for having me.
New York and the North Carolina crew, the whole East Coast. So that's Lady Rain's world right there, y'all. She an East Coaster.
All right then. All right.
I'm a Southern girl, but she's an East Coast girl, the New Yorker by way of Callahan, Florida. The most country city girl I've ever met in my life. You know, it's that Callahan, Florida that be sneaking out. It sneaks out, y'all. But good night, everybody. Thank you all for
Good
watching.
night, guys, and have a great one.
And I will see you next week. Good night.
You are tuned in to that PRAYzy station, praise.fm, where we get our praise on,